Pet Gundogs are naturally busy, driven dogs. They were bred to work, use their nose, respond to movement, and stay switched on for long periods of time. That does not mean that they cannot settle, but it does mean that a lot of them need to learn how to switch off properly. For a lot of pet Gundogs, being busy comes quite naturally, as I'm sure you're all aware. They're very quick to notice things, quick to respond to movement, quick to follow scent, and very quick to look for something to do. So when that dog is living in a normal home, it's settle. Without a clear outlet and being taught how to rest, you could end up with a dog that is constantly looking for the next thing. This is where a lot of owners try and solve the problem by doing more. More walks, more exercise, more toys, more stimulation, and more activities. And sometimes all that really does is create a dog that is fitter, more active, and still has the inability to be able to settle. For a lot of these dogs, the missing piece is not actually effort from the owner. The missing piece of the puzzle is that the dog just hasn't learned how to settle. They have never learned how to relax when nothing is happening. They have never learned that being calm is actually valuable. And they have never learned that switching off is something that they can actually choose to do. Settling is a skill set. And like any skill, it has to be taught in a way the dog actually understands. We're not going to be forcing calmness. We're not going to be pinning the dog down. We're not going to be using the bed or mat as punishment, but we are going to be teaching the dog that doing nothing is the expectation. We're going to teach them that lying down and chilling out is worth choosing over whatever else they want to do. That is the difference. So, you might be wondering, how do you teach a dog to settle? First, settling starts in the home, in a very low distraction and controlled environment. This is important because your dog needs to learn the concept before they can start to do it in harder, more high distraction environments. If your dog can't settle in the living room, then they definitely aren't going to be able to settle in a cafe, in a pub, at training, in a field, and definitely not around other dogs. So we're going to start things simple. You need to have a fixed point, whether that be a settle mat like this one just here, or a raised bed, for example. And that area should become a place where good things happen. And more importantly, where the dog just learns to chill out. You want them to learn that when I'm here, you just relax and switch off. But there's also a few things that I want you to avoid as well as settle. Stay there and settle. Okay? No. Settle. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, now your head's in the microphone. Settle. Don't be sending your dog to the settle area as time out or punishment. If the settle space becomes an area that the dog associates with the punishment, it's not ideally going to be a place they're going to want to choose to settle. And next up is to make sure that you aren't constantly relying on luring the dog into the behaviour with food. If you're always having to put food in front of the dog's nose to get them to go into their place bed, it's likely that they're not actually figuring out the concepts of that behaviour. And all they're going to do is just follow the food. And that then links into something that I speak a hell of a lot about, and that is making sure that you aren't rewarding your dog with food for settling. The reason why we don't want to do this is because all we're going to end up doing is creating an association. That dog is going to anticipate food every single time that they are expected to settle, thus creating a response of them constantly looking at you for the next bit of food. And similarly to that, and this is something that I see a lot of people do, is giving their dog a chew to get them to settle. They aren't realistically settling when you're giving them access to something like a chew, because they're obviously having to be occupied in order to be calm. In my opinion, a chew is still stimulation. And I have said this before, that giving your dog a chew is absolutely fine. Like, there genuinely is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But giving your dog a chew to get them to settle isn't something that I agree with. You're most likely going to end up teaching Settle that there is always going to need to be a chew there in order to achieve that behaviour. Now, throughout this process, your dog might be a little bit of a fidget. They might get up, they might whine, they might stare at you. That might even start to escalate into a little bit of some vocalization. And they're probably going to test if you're going to interact with them. But I can promise you, all of this is completely normal. You've just got to wait it out. You are teaching a new skill rather than asking for just a quick trick, so it is going to take a little bit of time. In the early stages, one of my favorite things to do is use a tether. So that would be a lead that you attach onto your dog, whether that be from a flat collar, a slip, whatever you want to utilize, and then have that attached to something else that's really, really heavy or something that dog cannot physically move. A tether is super, super useful because it is going to put a stop to that dog being able to wander around and look for something else to do. It confines them to one space, again, like I said originally, controlling the environment around your dog, and it's going to make it massively, massively more simple for them to be able to do that behavior. Another great thing about this is it stops your dog being able to create this as a little bit of a game, because I would assume there's quite a lot of dog owners out there where you've attempted to do this before in the past, and you will have constantly keep having to get up to go and rectify the dog and chase them around the house and so on and so forth. Whereas with a tether, what that does is it keeps them confined in one space, meaning it takes the conflict out of the situation between you and your dog. And the tether isn't there to force your dog down by any means. It's just providing them with reliability and the actual ability to do the behavior and get it right, instead of choosing the wrong choice and constantly getting it wrong, which will then actually probably create more conflict. So once you've figured out your settle item, whether that be a settle mat like this or a raised place bed, and you've got your tether and everything that you need, your instructions are actually quite clear. You're going to put your dog onto the bed, you're going to tell them to settle, and you're going to just leave them. That's it. Now, if you are tying your dog to something, you need to give them enough lead so that they are actually able to stay in that area, but not too much lead that they're going to then start to piss around. And then all you're going to do, plain and simple, leave them to figure it out. You don't need to talk to them. You don't need to fuss them. You don't need to give them hard eye contact of anything of the sorts. Just leave them to get on with it. Leave them to develop that skill for themselves. You've done all you need to do. Now let them rest. And above all else, make sure you aren't constantly repeating the cue. A lot of people fall into this trap of continuously keep asking their dog to settle, which will, in that short moment, give your dog a little burst of attention, meaning they'll constantly keep circling back round to gain access to you opening your mouth again. So say it once, mean it, and leave them to it. So once you've said your cue and you've left your dog to it, this is usually where you're going to start to see your dog unravel a little bit. They might start to vocalize. They might start to pace around a little bit. They might do that little whinge or whine. A lot of you HPR owners out there will be very familiar with the HPR whistle, the little under the breath whistle that they give out when they're a little bit annoyed. You'll know it all too well. They might do a lot of staring. They might be looking at you, looking for that next cue, that next thing that they want you to basically give them help with. You're not going to pay into this. You're just going to leave them to it. Don't be making direct eye contact or anything of the sorts. Just let them be. The goal is for your dog to admit defeat and just switch off. You can just go about your day whilst they learn this new skill as well. And this method works because you're allowing your dog to be set up to make the better choice. You're not going to have to fight them. You're not going to physically have to make them stay there either. You'll be creating a setup where settling and switching off becomes the most easiest option. The tether is obviously going to stop them from wandering off and rewarding themselves for something else. And the settle area is going to give them a clear space to be. And your lack of interaction is going to teach them that it is not fighting for your attention, not going to lead into a play session. The rules are very simple. They just need to switch off, chill out, and get good at doing nothing. Be good at being bored. And you can do this at any given point during the day, when you're watching TV, maybe you're making dinner. Whenever you feel like it'd be a good opportunity for you to work on this behavior, I highly recommend that you do it. And only when your dog can comfortably settle and switch off via the use of this setup, would I then recommend that you progress into having your dog just settle and switch off in, say, the living room or any given environment within the house. And definitely not outside either, especially at this stage. So, just to recap, teaching your dog to settle is one of the most valuable skill sets you can help your dog achieve, because a dog that is able to switch off definitely is able to focus better, listen, recover, and just all round make better choices in life. So this week, set up a simple settle station, use a bed, a mat, a safe tether point, and practice this every single day. Remember, keep this very simple. Practice only in the house before making this more difficult. And bear in mind, your dog isn't going to learn this all in one session. It's going to take time, so give them the time that they need in order to develop this skill. That is where a calmer Gundog starts.